It's honestly about time that I make another Rogue Robot review episode, so let's make it on one that appears quite frequently in a lot of the scenes during Wall-E. That robot that we were going to talk about today is going to be none other than 75, or as I used to call him, Spinny Hands. For those who don't know who 75 is a FMAD class gray robot that sits in the repair ward like all the other robots in the series, with a few exceptions, like Mo and maybe Bernie, since they're prominent characters. And you may be thinking, well, what does 75 look like? Where does he sit? What does he do? Why are you calling him Spinny Hands? Well, 75 is obviously, as I said, an FMAD class gray robot with two large grayish black arms, two forearms that are on joints and such like that, and are somewhat turnable and don't have that much mobility, on an overall gray body and stuff like that is connected to an underneath joint underneath the main face plating area, which isn't really a face. And he has a gray speaker-like screen and a green lime-colored lit-up little compartment area that kind of looks like a smile almost in a way. He's a very similar looking robot to that of FMAD. Who's FMAD, you may ask? He's the robot that is notorious and all. He's the one who's constantly smashing his face in with the red tray. You may also recognize 75 thanks to his very similar look to Hands, the massage bot. Yeah, there's a lot of this kind of robot throughout the film. Obviously FMAD, 75, Hands, and a few other models and stuff like that. Most of which, since they're looking so similar, aren't that interesting. You may be wondering now, well then where does he appear then? 75, for basically the entirety of the entire repair ward scene, sits at the very far left. You know where the diagnostics room is? Yeah, he's right near there. There are 10 different compartments to the repair ward, if you may have not have noticed. 5 on one side, 5 on the other. Wall-E is on the right side and all, in the very middle one. And 75 is on the far closest to the diagnostics on the left side. And he is also joined by some other robots, such as 70, who's an orange one, who you see with a orange container on the back cylinder shaped and all, and sometimes you see him with large arms carrying a big orange crate. More on him in another episode. As well as another robot with a gray cylinder and large arms that are sometimes on its back and sometimes upright, and also one with a very long, recognizable neck, who often pops his head up and down. Once you see him, you can't unsee him. And 75, obviously, as the name says, well, not the number, but the nickname I've given him says, he is notorious for his malfunction, which every robot in that repair ward has some sort of malfunction. And that is his twirling of hands, which is very unique and interesting. Sometimes it looks like a blender. If he were present in the final battle with all the other, well, not all the others, but with Wall-E and the main cast and stuff like that, he would have definitely helped with taking down all the servants and stuff, or guards, stewards. But honestly, we already have Hands doing that, so yeah. But of course, like all the other Rogue robots, I wish he appeared at the end of the film with everyone else. Or just simply again later on in the film, but again, like all the other Rogue robots aside from the main cast, he just seeps into the background and disappears almost entirely, basically. And I still do have hope that someday, maybe, Pixar will pull a Bernie on us and make a short about the remaining Rogue robots and what happened to them. Pixar cares about their films and stuff like that. They pay attention to detail and continuity and filling up things and all, pulling together loose ends. And the Rogue robots, since there was like 48 or something of them, yeah, there's a lot of them, and we only see, what, like 7 or so of them come back at the end of the film? Really? What happened to all of the rest? Did they get captured? Were they put back in the repair ward? Were they still running about even when the ship eventually landed back on Earth and they got out with everyone else at the end, even though we didn't see them? They never say, and there's no clues, there's no alluding to it, and it's kind of frustrating, and I want to see more of them because I love these guys so much. And the fact that I keep discovering more and more about them is why I'm still such a big fan of them. Plus, if someone were to make fan-made models of each of them and all, make animations with them, that would be amazing. Also, something important to bring up about 75 is that he obviously has no eye thing like Eve or Mo or plenty of the other robots. So, as for his appearances, In the opening shot where they first reveal the repair ward, you don't see him anywhere, which is weird. And the group that he's usually with, like the neck popper 7D and the one that I like to call Mime, who goes up and down with his big arms, they're on the right side and not the left side. It's a weird continuity error that they kind of mishmangle and stuff like that. Plus Spray, the one that we see Spray Eve earlier on in the film, yeah, that one's not on the right anymore. It's on the left further forward. It's weird. The ones on the far back, they often get mixed matched sometimes. But in the closer up shots, they keep it, continuity wise. But as for his major appearances, though, where we actually can see him, he was probably just somewhere off screen that you just can't see him because he's so far away. You see him while he's being lifted up by a crane arm, but like all the other robots, is far away and very blurred, and you can barely see him. One of the best looks we see of him and all is when Wally's looking around, he sees FMAD smashing his face and stuff like that. Then he looks in the far distance, and in the far left corner on the last part of the shot, you see 75 spinning his hands far off in the corner, doing his thing, looking around almost terrified. And of course we see it from Wally's perfect vision again, and we see him in the corner as well. Afterwards, he just kind of disappears a little bit, or just simply is off screen. And we do see another good look at him and all when Wally's charging for the diagnostics, and we see him, I believe he's still spinning his hands. I could be wrong. I'm not exactly sure if he is in this shot or not. It's something that a lot of the rogue robots do and all, is that their malfunctions sometimes fix themselves. It's like they're only something that happens at certain times and stuff like that. It's like the robots get excited and they can't control themselves. Anyways, 75 is sitting there, and if you look closely, a claw arm is dropping him off there, or handling him, something like that kind of. And he's looking up while he's smashing through the wall. And then when the firearm and all is shot right towards the power lock thing, well, I don't know what it's called for the repair ward, you see 75 obviously sitting in his spot, looking at the plasma ray, whatever it is, going by, obviously. And we see him again ever so slightly in the far right corner of the powering down all the gate shot with all the others. And the next time we see him is when we see Wally in the diagnostics room looking through the hole in the glass door and all, seeing all the rogue robots peering through. And we see 75 jumping on the left side with the others. Again, a possible continuity error, because this is from Wally's angle from diagnostics. He should be on the right, not on the left. But I think that he just bounced around and then bounced back and then looked down. And considering how much time there was for him to bounce around, I think that makes a lot of sense. He peers in, he charges up his hands in the air, goes spinning again, and he drills his way right through the glass, and he's with all the others picking Wally up, and we see him bouncing around, and we get to see his back. And it's in this shot that we also get to see his number, 75, which is how I know the number. And obviously we see him running off with the others. And the next shot where Wally is being carried down the repair ward, we see him on the right, bobbing around in a little bit of a back behind the others and stuff like that, not spinning his hands, just kind of throttling down, and then he leaves. And then the gate shot where we see the brr, 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 we see him ever so slightly in the far, far background, and then it pans up, and we see him on the bottom left side, ever so slightly. You can see the top of his head going by. After this, we see him with all the other robots running through the hallway, charging, and we see him on the kind of far back end and all, on the right when they're coming around the corner. We see him with all the others on the right side and all, spinning his hands not in the regular drill way, but in a way that's a bit more odd, a bit like a sort of conjoined way, like almost turning a valve. It's quite interesting. And of course he stops, and he's crouching down behind some of the other robots in the big cluster. And when Wally is met up again by Eve and everything, she's like, Wally! And we see 75 still on the far top right corner and all, crouched down. And when the picture is taken of him and all the other robots, he's still there, not really moving very much at all, kind of looking towards the stewards. And when Eve's like flabbergasted at Wally again, we still see him there once again. And when when Eve picks up Wally, they run off, and 75 is still sitting there in the corner. And like all the other robots, he charges through. He's far on the far right, one of the first ones to get through. And we see him swerving from the right into the middle, kind of. I don't think he's spinning his hands very much in this shot, or at least maybe he is, but it's hard to tell. Because it's such a quick shot. See him go from the right to the middle, and he zooms off to the right with a lot of the other robots and stuff. And obviously, That's the last time we see 75 in the whole film. And honestly, for a rogue robot, I think he has a quite cool design and he's pretty darn awesome. But again, I like all the robots, so it's not saying much. And he had quite a lot of appearances, I must say, one the most prominently featured, mostly because he was close to the diagnostics room. And the ones that are closer up down there do get featured quite a lot more, I'd say. So yeah, that's basically everything you need to know about the Robot 75. Hope you enjoyed. And let's keep continuing this series strong.